everyone, and welcome back to this channel. If you're new here, my name is Colleen, and today I'm going to be sharing a really simple, quick recipe with you on how to can a cranberry sauce. It's the simplest thing in the world, and nothing tastes quite like homemade cranberry sauce. I'm not adding anything to it. This is a simple recipe, just cranberries, water, sugar. And I will be water bathing this recipe in my old pressure canner that I used to water bath most of my water bathed fruit. So to get started, I will just push this pot out of the way for a moment while I measure out the berries. I'm sure you don't have to measure these out at all. I, after Thanksgiving, found some berries in the grocery store, and I wasn't quite prepared to use them at that point. So I just threw them into the freezer, and I'm just going to open them up now. This recipe calls for 8 cups, more or less. And you might want to sort through. I think they do a pretty good job of cleaning and taking care of the berries to make sure that we don't have any twigs or bad berries in there, but it never hurts to have a look. So 8, roughly. Maybe a little more to bring it up to 8. This is a recipe that my dear old mom used. You see, she loved homemade cranberry sauce. And so anytime we had turkey, she would hunt around to find the fresh berries in the store. I'm just using the store brand from our local store today, but you could use whatever you can find locally. So Mom would make this exact recipe, and my mom used to sing or hum, and I can do neither. It's not a talent I got from her. You know, lots of people are proud to say they got something special from their mom or their dad. In my case, that voice didn't come to me. Although I have lots of family members who are quite musical. And one in particular I'm thinking about right this moment is Travis Pickering. You do yourself a favor if you went and had a look on YouTube for Travis's YouTube channel. He's a very talented young man who we are all very proud of. I'm just going to reach back and grab my measuring cup. So we need 4 cups of sugar, 8 cups of berries. It's 1. Don't let me lose my place. 2, 3, 4. My mom sang in local talent shows and at dances and weddings, and had the opportunity one time to sing at an audition in Calgary. And she brought joy to our house all the time with her musical ability. And most of her cousins, or I shouldn't say most, but a lot of her cousins were really musically inclined, and they played instruments of all kinds and sang and got together just to do that. And I think it's marvelous. So I've added 4 cups of sugar, 4 cups of plain water from the tap, and I have the 8 cups of cranberries in the pot. I'm going to give them a stir, and then I'm going to move this pot to the stove, and we'll begin cooking them. Come along. I've got the pot, my biggest cooking pot at this point, on the stove top. I've started it on high using both rings on my stove. You get the best result while you're cooking and canning by having the bottom of your pot match the size of the cooking surface underneath it. So this will take a little while to come to a boil, but not that long. I'm certainly not going to talk you all the way through this. but I will bring you back in a few moments when we get to that stage. What we're looking for here is to hear the berries pop. We know that once the berries pop, we only have to cook them about 5 to 10 minutes to get them to the consistency that we want. So I'll be back as soon as that's ready. I hope you can hear them popping away in the pot. It's something that, it's music to our ears really, because we want them to pop out of their skins. It means that they're getting really close to boiling, and that's our goal. We're going to keep stirring occasionally, bring them to a full rolling boil, and then we're going to turn them down, just turn them down to a simmer, and we're going to simmer them about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. I'll check them partway through and decide whether it's 5 or 10, depending on how much of the whole berry you want left. So just keep your eyes on the pot, and you will recognize when we're there. It won't take very long because I can see it bubbling up now, but we're looking for a full rolling boil. So I'm going to give it a stir, and full rolling boil is one that you can't stir down. So let's just check this out. Some people don't take it this far, and some people choose to take their berries after they've just been brought to the boil, and they put them in a food processor and process them that way. But this is how I prefer to do them. I like them cooked a little more through, maybe. Now I'm feeling quite comfortable that the berries are coming to the boil. I don't know if you can see or not, but they're definitely boiling through, so I'm going to turn the pot down. And sometimes at this point you have to just pull the pot off the heat to stop it from boiling over on the stove if you don't have a bigger pot. This kind of process definitely requires a good sized pot. And I think this is about 5 quarts. It's kind of your standard kitchen Dutch oven or a big pot that comes with your dish set or your pot set. And music right there. As I was talking about music earlier, these are the things that we want to hear. We want to hear the poppin' berries, and we love the sound of the boil. And now we're just gonna bring that down a little and make sure that the berries are not gonna stick to the bottom of the pot. We're down really right on minimum on the stove right now. And I'm just gonna glance at the clock and see how long I need to cook these. Whew, these ones don't want to settle down at all. They will. Now I know there's lots of old-time ways of settling them down. Some people might add, you know, like a tiny bit of butter, or maybe a half a teaspoon of butter to it, or just a drizzle of oil, but I prefer not to do that if I can get away with it. We certainly don't need it. And you could definitely cut back on the sugar. Once you've got a little experience and you know what your family likes, you can definitely cut it back so that you don't have to have quite as much sugar in the recipe. You can also substitute out 1 or 2 of the cups of white sugar with brown sugar. Gives it another depth of flavor or different richness. But also when you add the brown sugar to it, the brown sugar seems to sweeten it a little too much. So maybe cut it back to 1 cup of brown sugar and 2.5 cups of white sugar or something along that line. Your own experience will tell you what to do at this point. So, how are we doing? We're still simmering away. So, we're going to set the timer and let that simmer. And in the meantime, I'll bring you back to the counter so that you can, so that we can talk about the jars and the canning process. So I'm not sure where you live. Here in Canada, we've had Thanksgiving go by already. And that's how I was able to get a really good deal on the cranberries. They were fresh when I purchased them, but our Thanksgiving is over, so what was left in the store was deeply discounted. Maybe a good tip for you moving forward is that after the holidays, immediately look for the fresh cranberries in the store and just pop them in the freezer until you're ready to work with them. Another thing that we seem to be having some difficulty within the canning world right now is jars, seals, rings. There are a lot of fake seals out there, I think. I see a lot of people complaining that their seals are not sealing properly and that they're buckling. I think a lot of these seals are coming from overseas, and their quality may not be as good, but we have to work with what we've got. So I was out of the half pint jars, so today I went over to the dollar store looking for little jars that I could put some cranberry sauce in. I plan on gift giving quite a bit of this, so I could only find these little square cans or jars over at the dollar store. I think they'll work just perfectly, but I didn't really love this lid that was on it. Pardon me, because there's no way to remove the ring from the lid. It's all one piece. It does have a seal inside it, but I'm just not that confident about using this style. So I'm going to use my regular Bernardin seals, which I tested at the store before I bought them, and my regular rings to get these sealed. So I've washed up a bunch of jars. I have them behind me in the sink. I'm just sitting in hot water, waiting for this process to begin to put in the canner. So I'm going to crank up the canning kettle, and I will be back as soon as the berries are ready to come off the stove. So I have the cranberries off the stove. I cooked them 10 minutes, and the consistency seems to be what I was looking for. And I've tasted them, and I really like the amount of sweetener or sugar that's in them. So now I'm just going to start putting them in jars. I'm just going to turn back to my sink and grab a couple to get started. And as I said, I think these little hot little jars are going to work just fine. They are definitely kind of an interesting shape and ought to make for really good display. So I'm going to use my funnel, and I'm just going to settle in here and fill these to within close to 1/4 of an inch of the top. Usually when we're doing most canning, we want an inch of headspace, but not so with these jams and jellies. We want less space than that. I think I've left this at about 1/2 inch. I'm just going to reach into the drawer and grab a tool that I can put in there and make sure that it's debubbled. This is one of my little wooden spoons my dad carved for me years ago, and I'm just going to reach in and make sure there's no bubbles in there. And then I'm going to just dampen a paper towel with a bit of white vinegar, and I'm going to wipe the rims of the jar. I should just move this aside so you can see what I'm up to. And just wipe them to make sure there's nothing in the way. Put on a seal, make sure it's in the right position. And I always put my finger in the middle of the seal just to hold it in place while I get the ring on. And we're just going to turn these to finger tight. And that one's ready for the pot. And I'm just going to continue that process over and over until I have them all ready. Now I feel like I've got too many things going on here. So, as I mentioned before, our house was always full of music. and cheer coming from everywhere. And I will actually put a link to Travis's YouTube channel down below. And yes, please do go have a listen and leave him some love. He's a very talented young man. So we just repeat this process, and we should, if all the measures are correct, we should end up here with 8 jars of jelly. And then I'll put these straight into the water bath canner, and I am going to can them for 20 minutes actually in the water bath canner, because I'm at high altitude, and our high altitude canning requires just a little additional time. So I'm going to can these, 20 minutes. It's really important that you're checking your area to find out what your altitude is, so that you are following the right guide for how long your stuff needs to be in the canner. So I'll get these ready. Once they're out of the canner, I will take the rings off, I'll put them into the cupboard, and they will be ready for gift giving, or for the next time that we have either chicken or turkey and we just need a little something to go along with it. I hope that you're all staying well and safe, and that you will join me the next time. And in the meantime, take care. Bye-bye.